In this lesson, I'm going to give you an overview of how to get started using the Advanced Custom Field and Assets features in Brizy Cloud. Now, instead of me trying to explain exactly what I'm talking about, let me just give you a practical demonstration and show you how we start to work with this. Let's go up to the CMS menu in the top left-hand corner. Now, you'll see underneath our assets, we've got Create Custom Asset. Now, when it comes to Brizy Cloud, all the different content we create, pages, posts, those kinds of things, are all considered assets. So creating a custom asset is very similar to creating a custom post type in WordPress. So in our example, we're going to click to create a custom asset, and we're going to create a new asset called games. And this is where we can put information about games we might enjoy. So let's go ahead and do that. First of all, we've got the asset name singular. So this would be game in our example. And then the plural is simply going to be games. And you can see the asset slug is automatically generated for us. And all the slug is basically what's added onto your domain's URL for this particular custom asset. Then we've got the asset type, where we can choose between single and archive. Now, because this is going to be a custom post type, this is going to be a single. In other words, this is going to be an individual game. However, if you were creating a taxonomy or a way to group your content together, you could use the archive option. So for this example, let's choose single. So now we can go ahead and choose an icon we want to represent our particular new asset. We'll choose this football. And then we can go ahead and start to add the custom fields that we want. So we click to add fields, you can see we've got a selection of different types of fields. Now most of these are self-explanatory, but I'll go over them very, very quickly to give you an overview. Text, as its name would suggest, is just plain old text. You can insert numbers and characters in here if you want to. Rich text is going to give us some more control so we can get some access to formatting and things. Email, an email address, a link, as its name would suggest. Select is basically where we can select from a drop-down list of options. Image, self-explanatory, as is number. And then we've got reference and multi-reference. So next we have reference. Now reference is a way of categorizing your content, your custom assets. So in our example of games, we could have a single one-to-one relationship. So in other words, the game has an individual publisher. Whereas multi-reference is a one-to-many relationship. So you could end up with this, that this would be your game would have multiple different genres it could fall into. So that's the key difference between those two. So let's go ahead and start adding in some of our assets. So what we're going to do first of all is we're going to drop in an image. We'll select the image, and you can see that now allows us to drop an image in here. Again, we just repeat this process, add in all of the fields that we want. So this time we'll add a link in for a link to the actual game itself. We'll add another one in, and we're going to put in number for the price. Let's go ahead and add in a single reference, and this is going to be for the publisher. And now if we need to, we can go ahead and configure any of these new assets. If you simply click on an asset, this will open up any options you have associated with it, and also the option to delete this if you inserted it by accident. So if we click on the image, you can see this allows us to set the label and a description and whether we want to set this to be a required field. In this example, let's set that to be required. Now while we're here, let's go ahead and change the labels as well. So we're going to set this to be product image. We're going to come down to the link and we're going to do the same thing again. So we're going to open the options up. We're going to call this product link. If you want to set the description, set this to required or anything else, we can do that inside here. So let's repeat the process now for the other fields that we've got. This one is going to be price. And finally, the reference, we're going to just change this over to category. And then finally, we can choose the actual reference itself. Now, at the moment, you can see we've got pop-ups and alerts, and we've got stories and posts, all the standard assets that are part of Brizy Cloud. For this example, we're going to keep it really straightforward and just choose the categories option. And there we go. So now we've created and set up all those fields. There's one more field I want to add in though. Let's go ahead and add a final field, and this time we're going to choose rich text. From there, we're going to do the same again. We're going to change the description, edit this, and call this product description. Okay, so we've set everything up inside our new custom asset. Let's go ahead and click create and continue. And once we do that, you now see we've got the option in the left-hand side under the assets section for our new custom asset, games. So let's go ahead and add a new game to see exactly what we have access to. So here you can see we've now got the content. And as you can see, we've got some additional fields that we didn't create. At the top, we've got the game title. At the bottom, we've got the slug. Now, these are mandatory fields. They're automatically created on any custom asset. You can't delete them. They're automatically inserted. So just keep that in mind when you're creating your custom assets. You don't need to include the title or the slug. Okay, so let's go ahead and create a new entry. First of all, let's give this a title. We can then choose a product image. We can drop in a link. We give this a price. We'll choose our category, and we've got a category inside there called games. And now we can go ahead and drop in the description for this. Okay, so we've now created all the content we need. Let's go ahead and save the changes. And we've now created our first custom post. So now that we've gone ahead and created everything, we can go ahead and start to edit this and flesh the design out. So now the first thing we need to do is go ahead and set up the section that's going to contain some key information, the product title, description details, those kinds of things. To do that, we're going to simply add a new block, choose to create our own, come to the options for our section, open this up and set a background color. We'll choose one of our global colors for now. We'll choose this dark gray. Next up, we want to grab some dynamic data for the product details. To do that, we're going to come over, choose our elements and just put in the title. So we'll drop that into our top section and you can see that now pulls in the title. We can go ahead and format this if we want to. So let's just select it, change the color. We'll change it to be heading 1. We'll also position it to be in the center. Now next up, I want to add the price of the particular game in. So what we're going to do is we're going to come over to our elements again. This time we're going to choose the text element, drop that beneath our title. We'll select this and choose the typography option. Now we can go ahead and use the dynamic data icon, open that up, and you can see our custom fields are listed inside here. Things like game title, price, product description, and so on. For this example, let's choose the price option. You can see that now inserts the price. We can now go ahead and customize this. Let's change the typography and set this to something like H4. We'll go ahead and change the color to white and we'll adjust the position and set this in the center as well. Okay, so that's the basics of the header finished. Now let's go ahead and add some main content in. We're going to go ahead and add a new block. We'll choose to create our own one more time. Come over to our elements. And this time we're going to just go ahead and add an extra column in to split this into 2. We'll resize it. Around about that kind of size looks great. We'll come back over to our elements and we're going to grab the image element and drop that into the left-hand column. We'll select that, choose the image option, and from there we're going to use the dynamic data icon again. If we select that, you can see we can choose between custom and we can choose original. For this example, we'll choose custom. And you see that now loads in the image itself for the product. We can now go ahead and make any changes we want to the size, dimensions, and all those kinds of things. And there we go. And also set this to open up in a lightbox. Next, in the right-hand column, we want to go ahead and put the description in. So again, we're going to come over to our elements, put a text widget inside there. We'll select this, choose the typography option, and from there we'll choose our database icon one more time and choose product description. Once we do that, that will then pull in the data for the product description. As you can see, everything is now in place. Now don't worry about the extra HTML code. That will be rendered out correctly on the front end of the site when you preview it. Okay, so the next thing we want to do is go ahead and insert a button that allows anyone that's interested to click and take a look at the game itself using the custom URL we set up earlier. So again, let's come over to our elements. From here, we'll grab the button element and drop that underneath our text. We'll select our button and now we can go ahead and set the link and anything else we want. So first of all, let's change the color of this to something a little bit more in keeping. There we go. We'll click on the link icon and from there we can use the database icon one more time. We'll select that and you can see game URL is listed inside there, which is our custom URL. We'll select that and we've now set up the link on our button, all set up from our dynamic information. Finally, let's just make a couple of tweaks to our button. First of all, let's set this to open up in a new tab. And finally, we're going to come in and change the button text itself, and we'll set this to be View Game. And there we go, there's our custom button. So now we've designed our template, set everything up. All we need to do is go ahead and set up the global sections on here to make sure that they apply to all of our games. To do that, let's first of all come out to our header section and select the pop-out section in the top right-hand corner. We'll choose the first icon and we'll say to set Make This Global. Once that's done, we'll click one more time and choose the same icon, and now we can go ahead and set the display conditions. Choose that option, and all we need to do is refine our set of conditions. At the moment, this is saying to only show this on the Horizon game, which obviously we want to be displayed on all of our games. So all we need to do is change that and set this to be games and all, and we can click on save, and that has now set up the condition for our header section. We can close this down and do exactly the same then for the main section. So again, we'll choose the option, Choose the very first option to set this and make it global. We'll click it one more time, choose the first option, set our display conditions, and then just change this to display for all games and click on save. So now we've saved that. Let's just close this down, go ahead and click on save draft, and we'll go ahead and publish this page. And now any of the games we have or any games we add in the future will now start to use our custom design templates with all this information we've just set up and designed.